I wanted to discuss something that is highly annoying for probably just violinists, and that's the playing on the E string, open E, and then it doesn't speak. What happens is you get like this incredibly piercing whistle. And honestly, I didn't want to talk about this until I've solved it. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to figure it out 100%. Um, Meaning, it's something that happens to me and then I've never been able to, well, it doesn't happen to me too much, but like when it happens, it's sort of a random event, and I've never been able to sort of almost like recreate it. I figure any you haven't really figured something out until you actually can recreate it. And so since I've never been able to do it on demand, I want to say I'm not I don't think I'm ever going to figure out exactly why the E string whistles. Exactly. So um, you're gonna have to forgive me. My voice is a little off because I got probably COVID again. Um, so this happens usually when you're doing a string crossing, and as best I can tell, if you don't hit the E with enough force and sort of start it with a little bit of a gouge and then pull the sound out, what happens is it's like you're grabbing a stone and you're just throwing it across a pond, and it skips. It's not, the stone is not penetrating the surface of the water tension, and it's not exactly the same physics, of course, but it's a similar idea where um, with not enough force, what happens is the resonance doesn't engage the open E, and rather you get this. Um, I don't know. It's probably 5 octaves higher than an open E. It's like a really high. It's in the piccolo range. It's really high and piercing. Um, so I've had it happen in a couple of performances that I remember, and you know, it's it's not unlike breaking a string or a bow hair or something. I mean, you can't get too upset with yourself when this happens, but it would be nice to essentially um, do your best effort. If you can bring some sort of bag of tricks to a passage that um, will not make this E not speak, that would be great, right? Unfortunately, the usual tactics of sort of really sort of dropping into the E string really aggressively can be a very, very um, double-edged sword, because if it doesn't speak, you're going to be really hammering out that whistle. I've had that happen where you're just like, okay, it's coming, it's coming. I'm just going to go, and I engage it, and it didn't start with the right energy. And what happened is I had an extremely loud squeak. So it's not a strategy, in my opinion, to sort of just punch out the E necessarily. Again, as I was saying, this happens with string crossings a lot. So there's a passage in and maybe I can recreate it today. There's a passage in the opening of the Beethoven Concerto, and I want to say 30%, maybe 12% of the time, it doesn't speak. So maybe if I do it like 5, 6, 7 times, I'll have a sample to show you. So this is from the Beethoven Violin Concerto. This is the note that I'm trying to sort of make whistle. It's not working right now. Hmm. Yeah, that was about 8 times, and it's not whistling. That's one of the passages that always gets me. I think it's the only moment in the whole concerto. There's probably 70 pages of music, and that's the only um, solitary moment when E has a potential to whistle, and it's chaotic. Like I said, I can't even get it to go right now. Although I did before I started recording this, I kind of ran my shirt over my strings because I was warming up some scales, and I there is a chance that if your E string is really caked with rosin, this is a theory. If it's really caked with rosin, it has a propensity to whistle, uh, maybe. Um, so this passage, what I've been doing when it has been whistling quite a bit is on the downbeat of that run. I just sort of pluck with my pinky to get the E string active. I feel like the my best theory on why this happens is the E string is stationary, and then you add the, the pressure, the bow speed, whatever, on it, and it doesn't activate. It's essentially your bow. The string is solitary. Your bow goes over the string, and the string doesn't ever get pulled by the bow. So you're just glazing over the E string, and that's what creates the harmonic. And I'm guessing you're basically just doing an artificial harmonic up here on this node here. So that's why it's really high. So it's sort of like you're playing something like that. So yeah, the E is not being activated, meaning when you, it's obvious to violinists and string players how strings work. But the rosin, when you pull a bow over a string, what happens is it catches the, it's like a guitar, you like, it's sort of, with the friction, it catches the string and it starts to activate. And then what you have is a continuous um, back and forth with the string. So when E is not doing that, maybe you have an E that it's a very slippery surface here. And so when the bow goes on there, it just can't catch the string in order to activate it. And then you get that terrible whistle. So as I was saying, if you do clean the strings, I think sometimes that kind of works to stop these whistlings from happening. But it's just the theory, because I've definitely had it happen where it was very clean. It happened very rosiny was happening. It's very chaotic. So it's really funny. I can't get it to work, but it's a good thing. I don't necessarily want to practice something that's not work that is a bad thing. As I was saying, one small hack with trying to do my best in order. I didn't quite finish my thought on trying to having not whistle is to sort of do a light pluck with. So you can hear it. That's what I'm doing. Ideally, it's just a slight, just very slight, and then you're just hoping that artifact is very much covered up by the orchestra or your piano, and the fact that you're playing a very resonant G on top of that. It's a magician has all these little tricks, and so must performers. They have to have these little artifacts that kind of take us out of the pure art and into more of a, you got to get by, got to do dirty tricks in order to make it happen. So this seems to work for me. I want to say it's not zero sum. Basically, it's adding some uh, chance that it won't whistle. And that's good enough for me. It kind of gives me the confidence to just kind of go for it. And it's really easy to do. So that little pluck, just to finish that thought completely, what it does is get the string vibrating like this, and then hopefully your bow, when it crosses over and just sort of gradually comes into that E is already vibrating, and it just sort of catches that wave and just pushes that sound out. If you are finding that you have a trick that works for you, please put in the comments. I'd love to banter about like an actual theory on, well, not the theory why it whistles, but like sort of a workaround that kind of works for all strings. The thing is, like, if you go with certain strings, with certain thicknesses of E, I have a heavy gauge E string here. I don't know. I can't remember if it's the heavy gauge E's have a propensity to whistle more or less. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think they whistle more, but they have a more penetrating sound. My fiddle is a little weak on the upper end, so I need sort of a penetrating. If I have a thin string up there, it's just weak. So that's why I go with thicker E. Whether it whistles more or not, I can't remember. But because it's been a while since I've had like a thin gold E, for example. But yeah, if you have any ideas, I'm not really willing to sort of change equipment in order to make this fix. As far like, I don't want to change my E string choice. So if you do have a fix to generally make sure this doesn't happen, do contribute. I like my little hack of getting that string vibrating. There's different opportunities in a passage to get it activated. If you're playing on like A string and you're about to go to the E string, and you always tend to squeak there, you can sort of just graze both strings at the same time. I remember that in Shostakovich Concerto had this. So a little bit of plucking. So if I didn't pluck there with the, so I'm going. If I just went with just lifting the third finger, then what happens? There's a big potential there for a whistling E. Can't really recreate it, but I remember in that concerto, I had a performance with orchestra, and it whistled. I was very mad because it happens 3 times. It's like, I can't remember the passage, but it's like, so it went whistle, 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 whistle. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the odds were very, very low that that would happen, and it did. And that passage ends with, and I remember pegging that the last idea on the G string as if I wanted to destroy my violin because I was very upset about that whistle. So this is before I had a maturity about me where you have to sort of realize if you break strings or you break bow hairs or you have these whistles, things that are like a little bit out of your control, you can't get upset. You have to be like, sort of smile up the gods and be like, you got me. Yeah, so I just want to talk about that whistle. I can't believe I have never played that passage in Beethoven that many times and have not whistled. So good on me. But I think if you're a violinist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's this high piercing E on the E string, high piercing whistle. And just to recap, just try to do things in order to get the string to vibrate slightly before your bow reaches it, and hopefully you can catch that little vibration and you're not starting that string cold from the bow stroke. And what happens is you're engaging the string, you won't have the whistle. So do what you can there. All right, good luck with that.